out of the red corner, an undefeated mixed martial artist holding a perfect professional record.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Crossover MMA. This Saturday, September 14th, is UFC 306 from the Sphere in Las Vegas. This will be my full card breakdown and prediction. Disclaimer, if you're not going to give me a cut of the winnings, don't come crying to me when you lose. So let's get right into it. First fight, we have Raul Rosas Jr. versus Lang at bantamweight. So Raul Rosas is 19 years old, 9-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'9", with a 67-inch reach, 90% finish rate, and he's a minus 850 favorite. Aoriqileng is 31 years old, 25-10, 3-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'7", with a 69-inch reach, 71% finish rate, and he's a plus 500 underdog. Aoriqileng's a striker that's moving up from flyweight, and I think the pressure, pace, and wrestling of Raul Rosas is going to be too much for Aoriqileng. I just see Raul Rosas, honestly, just mauling Aoriqileng and winning by a rear naked choke. Next fight, we have Edgar Chairez versus Joshua Van at flyweight. Edgar Chairez is 28 years old, 11-5, 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'7", with a 71-inch reach, 69% finish rate, and he's a plus 165 underdog. He's coming off a submission win against Daniel Lacerda 6 months ago. Joshua Van is 22 years old, 10-2, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'5", with a 65-inch reach, 83% finish rate, and a minus 205 favorite. And he's coming off a brutal KO loss against Charles Johnson not even 2 months ago. In this fight, I think Joshua Van will be the better striker. He does get hit a lot and fights behind his chin a bit too much, in my opinion. Chairez definitely comes to fight, and he will be a game opponent. He also has 7 submissions on his record as well. I'm expecting this to be a very, very fun fight, but ultimately, I'm going to go with Joshua Van by decision. Next fight, we have Yazmin Jauregui versus Ketlen Souza at strawweight. Jauregui is 25 years old, 11-1, 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She's 5'3", with a 64-inch reach, 58% finish rate, and she's a minus 550 favorite. She's coming off a unanimous decision against Sam Hughes 6 months ago. Souza's 29 years old, 14-4, 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She's 5'3", with a 63-inch reach, 50% finish rate, and she's a plus 400 underdog. She's coming off a unanimous decision against Marnik Man 4 months ago. In this fight, I'm just going to make it simple. I'm going Yazmin Jauregui by decision. She's the hot prospect, comes to fight, and has skills on the feet. That's pretty much all I need for this fight. Next fight, we have Manuel Torres versus Ignacio at lightweight. Torres is 29 years old, 15-2, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'10", with a 70-inch reach, 82% finish rate, and he's a plus 100 underdog. Bahamondes is 27 years old, 15-5, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 6'3", with a 76-inch reach, 55% finish rate, and a minus 120 favorite. This is one of the fights on the card, guys, I'm very excited about. These guys both land over 7 significant strikes per minute, so this will be a fun one. Torres comes to fight and is looking to finish his opponents. Baja is a massive lightweight striker that likes to keep his opponents at range with punches and kicks. I think Torres will have a power and a speed advantage, but he likes to stay in the pocket and can definitely get hit. With that said, I'm taking a small underdog here, and I'm going Manuel Torres by decision. Next fight, the prelim headliner, we have Irene Aldana versus Norma Dumont at bantamweight. Aldana's 36 years old, 15-7, 3-2 in her last 5 fights. She's 5'9", with a 69-inch reach, 50% finish rate, and is a minus 130 favorite. She's coming off an absolute war, one of the best WMMA fights I've ever seen against Carol Rosa at UFC 296 8 months ago. Norma Dumont is 33 years old, 11-2, 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She's 5'7", with a 67-inch reach, 15% finish rate, and she's a plus 110 underdog. She's coming off a unanimous decision win against Jermaine Durandamy 5 months ago. This is a tough one, as Norma Dumont typically forces her opponents to fight her fight, which is typically in the clinch or on the ground. Aldana is the better striker in my opinion, so she's gonna have to keep the fight on the feet or disengage from the clinch whenever Dumont closes the distance. This is a tough fight to pick because Norma Dumont just forces the grappling so much in her fights. I'm definitely 50-50 on this, but ultimately I'm going to go with Irene Aldana by decision. Next fight, we have the main card opener, Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Ode Osbourne at flyweight. Ronaldo Rodriguez is 25 years old, 17-2, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'6" with a 66-inch reach, 63% finish rate, and is a minus 130 favorite. He's coming off a submission win against Dennis Bandar, a very exciting fight 6 months ago. Ode Osbourne is 32 years old, 12-7, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'7" with a 73-inch reach, 47% finish rate, plus 110 underdog. And he's coming off a first-round submission loss to Jafel Filio 5 months ago. In this fight, I think Ode Osbourne is fighting for his career and hopefully to stay inside the UFC. Ronaldo Rodriguez is a dog. This guy comes to fight. He doesn't wilt when he faces adversity. But with that said, I'm going to go with Ronaldo Rodriguez by submission. I think he'll catch Osbourne at some point in the fight, rock him, and then the fight will end up on the ground, and Rodriguez will snatch up Osbourne's neck. Next fight, we have Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovics at lightweight. Zellhuber is 25 years old, 15-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 6'1" with a 77-inch reach, 73% finish rate, and he's a minus 230 favorite. He's coming off a unanimous decision against Francisco Prado 6 months ago. Esteban Ribovics is 28 years old, 13-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'10", with a 69-inch reach, 86% finish rate, and he's a plus 190 underdog. He's coming off a brutal first-round KO win against Terrence McKinney 3 months ago. This is another fight, guys, I am very excited for. 2 young prospects with a lot of potential. He pretty much comes to bang, no diddy. Zellhuber is the more technical striker. I think the 8-inch reach advantage is going to be a problem for Ribovics to deal with. So ultimately, I'm going to go with Zellhuber by decision. Next fight, we have Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes at featherweight. Brian Ortega is 33 years old, 16-3, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'8", with a 69-inch reach, 58% finish rate. He's a plus 155 underdog. He's coming off a submission win over Yair Rodriguez 6 months ago. Diego Lopes is 29 years old, 25-6, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'11", with a 73-inch reach, 71% finish rate, and a minus 180 favorite. He's coming off a unanimous decision against Dan Ige at UFC 303 2 months ago. Both guys are elite BJJ practitioners. Lopes, in my opinion, has more power in his hands. Ortega does have that big fight experience, which I think will pay dividends in this fight. I think the grappling and the BJJ will cancel out one another, and this fight plays out on the feet for the most part. I think Ortega gets hit a lot, and Diego has just dynamite in his hands. I can see this fight being a 3-round war. It's a really tough pick for me, but ultimately, I'm going to go with Diego Lopes by TKO. Next fight, we have the co-main event between Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko at flyweight. Alexa Grasso is 31 years old, 16-3-1. She's 4-0-1 in her last 5 fights. She's 5'5", with a 66-inch reach, 30% finish rate, and she's a minus 120 favorite. She's coming off a draw against Valentina Shevchenko in her last fight. Valentina Shevchenko is 36 years old, 23-4-1. She's 3-1-1 in her last 5 fights. She's 5'5" with a 67-inch reach, 54% finish rate, and she's a plus 100 underdog. And she's also coming off a draw against Alexa Grasso. In the trilogy, guys, I think we're going to get another classic between these two. They're very evenly matched and have slight advantages over one another in different regards. Grasso has an advantage in the boxing. Valentina has an advantage in the kickboxing. Valentina, in my opinion, has an advantage in the wrestling. And Grasso has an advantage in the BJJ. I can see this fight being a back and forth classic, and that's just hard to score the rounds again. I definitely thought Valentina won the second fight, 48-47. I think both ladies are definitely going to fight well, especially seeing as though they both coach the Ultimate and they have so much time in the octagon with one another. I'm curious to see if Valentina can break that habit she has of going for that throw with the headlock. It's gotten her into trouble in her last couple of fights, specifically in the Alexa Grasso 2 fight and also in the Talia Santos fight. I think Grasso needs to be on her front foot using her boxing when she's leading the dance. And also when Valentina tries to take the lead of the dance, she needs to do a great job of using her timing when countering Valentina. I picked Valentina in the first 2 fights, but she's 36 years old and I think she's starting to slow down a little bit. I would love to see Valentina get the win, but ultimately I'm going to go with Alexa Grasso by decision in the trilogy. Next fight, we have the main event, Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili at bantamweight. O'Malley's 29 years old, 18-1, 4-0-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'11" with a 72-inch reach, 68% finish rate, and he's a minus 120 favorite. He's coming off a 5-round beating of Chito Vera at UFC 299 5 months ago. He's 33 years old, 17-4, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'6" with a 68-inch reach, 19% finish rate, and he's a plus 100 underdog. He's coming off a unanimous decision against Henry Cejudo at UFC 298 6 months ago. We have the long technical striker in O'Malley with the cardio wrestler Merab. OP means overpowered. This fight will come down to if Merab can close the distance without getting caught and get his hands on O'Malley. O'Malley would use a lot of feints, crisp footwork, jabs, teeps, right straights to keep his range on Merab. I'm curious if the wrestling threat limits O'Malley's use of kicks in this fight, because there's always the threat of a kick getting caught or like you being off balance and you slipping and falling. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic, because the teeps to the body, the front kicks for O'Malley, are a very big weapon in his game in keeping that distance. I think it'd be smart for O'Malley to invest in some body work early and not just hit Merab, just in case O'Malley doesn't get a finish early in this fight. He has to invest in draining some of his gas tank, because if not, it's just going to just put the pace on him as the fight goes on. If Merab can implement the pressure pace in wrestling, O'Malley will be another opponent that Merab breaks. There's a famous saying in sports, guys: fatigue makes cowards of us all. I don't care who you are, how tough you are, how strong your will is, fatigue will make you quit. I think Merab has a very tough time closing the distance in this fight and getting to O'Malley without eating some big shots. He's definitely taken big shots before in his last few fights. He got clipped by Henry and also got clipped by Marlon Moraes in those 2 fights. But unfortunately in this fight, O'Malley is probably the biggest puncher in the bantamweight division. I think at some point Merab will get his hands on O'Malley at some point, and we're just going to have to see how O'Malley handles the wrestling. Ultimately, though, I'm going to go with Sugar Sean O'Malley by KO and steal. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, whether you agree, disagree with my take. I respond to all the comments. Be on the lookout for my top 3 fights for UFC 306 video. If you made it this far in the video, thank you very much. I truly appreciate it. I have a goal of 200 subscribers by October. It's a small goal, but it's my goal. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, get notified for uploads, and until next time.